You don't deliver the sugar to the Coca-Cola maker. Have you breached?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What are they out?
Sugar? Is
No.
it raw material to produce?
No.
However many bottles of Coke they would be.
No. They're out whatever it costs them to get that from somewhere else. They have a duty to mitigate. They have to pick up the phone and say, hey, other sugar supplier, can you bring sugar? Murray didn't. And the other sugar supplier says, sure, we can bring that sugar. It'll cost you $1.20 a pound. How much do I get sued for? Okay, $1.20. I was going to give it $1, and that was going to be 10. That's 10,000.
$2,000.
2,000. Okay. What if they phone up the sugar supplier, and the sugar supplier says we can get that sugar? It'll be $1.50.
$5,000.
Good. What if they said it'll be $1.10?
$1,000.
And what if they say we can bring you that sugar? It'll be 90 cents.
They can't really sue you because of how successful the damage mitigation was.
Do they owe me $1,000?
No.
No.
That doesn't really make sense.
I didn't ask you. Lots of what I say doesn't make sense, man. Haven't you learned that by now? Do I get money if they can get a better deal?
No.
No. Have I breached my contract?
Yes.
Is there any loss? You can have breach without loss, folks. If I was going to give it to $1 per pound, and when they had to mitigate, they found it for 90 cents, they have no loss. Do they sue me?
No.
But I breached.
So there's no loss.
Time and court.
Loss matters more than breach, folks. That's why loss matters more. I think that's everything. So, what do we say we're going to do next? Anybody have any questions? Anything? Anything that you look back, hold up a second. Anything that you look back over the last, how many weeks we've been here? 5? 4? Whatever it happens to be, and go, if you put this on the exam, I am so screwed, I don't get it. That's the type of thing I definitely want to cover right now. Or even if I'm a little uncertain about this, I think I get it, but I just want to make sure. I don't care what it is, but now is the time to ask those types of questions. Sometimes you would have seen those when you're going through the case study. You go, I don't really understand that. Go ahead.
You have 2 things. One, you haven't gone over everything for the parole evidence rule.
Did I talk about the exceptions?
I don't think you talked about condition 6% normal contract or for law.
What rule?
Yeah, yes.
What?
What rule?
Parole evidence rule.
Yeah, you went over everything?
I don't know. I'll go over them.
Okay.
I don't care whether I have or haven't. I actually think I don't know if I talked to you about the exceptions.
You want me
So
to
I think I
ask-
was going to come back and deal with that.
Yeah, in my notes, there's a note at this point. You said, tell me next week, and we never did tell you.
So it's your
Yeah,
fault.
I've got here, there's more exceptions. The only exception we have is with a new verbal contract, which is novation and the previous contract.
Okay? What else? You too.
Normal contract?
What?
What else? When you're subcontracting, is there a contract between the primary contract holder and the subcontractor?
I'm going to answer that rather than put it up on the board. You tell me. Because
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. Now I'm wondering why I was confused about it.
what does a contract mean? How do you know if there's a contract?
Elements.
What?
Elements.
The elements are there. So, although I've answered that rather flippantly, Ben, I don't want you to take that personally. I can't tell, from here, looking out at the situation, Normally, the answer is yes. With subcontracting, normally they have someone else do it under a contract. That's normally how subcontracting works. I actually can't think of a circumstance in which it wouldn't be there. There wouldn't be another contract.
Yeah.
But that being said, the only way you can tell if there is a contract is to go through the elements. That's the only way. So if I said I'm going to, fix your computer for $100, and then you said I'll do you a favor, Murray, I'll fix that computer, and there isn't really a contract because there's no consideration, that could happen. There's still a contract between the primaries, though, A and B. There might not be a contract with C. Would we still call it subcontracting? That's just a name we put on stuff. Don't get hung up on names. Facts will indicate whether or not there's subcontracting actually happened. The point about subcontracting is understanding that no matter if there is or there isn't, you can't sue C if you're A. If this is the way it's drawn, we don't care about that. There's no route to here because of the rule of privity. Whether this be a contract or something else. There's no route. That's the point of that. And that subcontracting is allowed in most situations. In other words, it isn't breach to get someone else to do the work unless who does it matters. Got it? Anything else? Are you not? Are you just waving?
Injunction.
Okay.
I don't fully understand the concept.
These are opposites. They're the same thing. They're just two sides. Okay? Specific performance is when a judge orders you to do something. Bring me the painting. Injunction is exactly the same thing. The only difference is the judge says, don't do something. Don't sell that to someone else. Don't destroy it. Don't have it leave your premises. Whenever a judge tells you to do something in a contract with specific performance, if they happen to have to be telling you to not do something, that's called an injunction. You understand that? It's just the opposite. One is specific performance is to perform. Injunction is don't do something. Anything else? Up here where we have damages, they are sometimes called money damages. Damages is the one that courts will order, and it is the amount, it's the money in the amount that it would take to put you back in the same position that you would have been in if the contract were performed. So that's sometimes called damages. It's sometimes called money damages. Anything else? From any week about contracts? I'll talk to you about torts too, but maybe we could not bother waste everyone else's.
Could
really
you-
here. All right.
Could you, excuse me, could you explain if the order goods delivered in the minor flow chart?
Order goods delivered?
Yes.
Okay. If anybody thinks of anything else before I finish this, then we'll deal with it. Then we'll go into the case studies. And if you still have questions, I'll answer them either tonight or next week. Okay? This is the time where you really got to understand everything. Okay? All right. So let's walk through. The parole evidence rule deals with the fact that if these two people have made a contract and it's written, we don't want a discussion about what is said, because it's too easy to have verbal stuff come up where people say that they said this, the other person says they don't, and it really makes it so that it was useless to make a written contract if people are going to be able to say, well, we also said this, and have it's too easy to fight about that. So the starting point, and this is what the parole evidence rule deals with, is you cannot verbally alter a written contract. That is the basic rule. So that says when you've written it out, that's all the judge will look at. It's a rule of evidence, which means they won't even let you talk, give testimony in court. They won't let you prove that something was said. Because they will say, you made a written contract. We want that written contract to have use, and therefore we're not going to talk about what is said. That's what the parole evidence does. It's actually a rule of evidence. It's about what you're allowed to prove in court. So the parole evidence rule basically says you cannot verbally alter a written contract. If the contract isn't written, we don't have any use for this. If the contract is written and no one tries to verbally change it, or said something afterwards to change clauses, we don't have any use for it. But there are a few circumstances in which if we apply that rule too tightly, it will actually end up with something that conflicts. It doesn't fit with our picture or what I've even taught you. It'll make it so some of the rules that I've told you can't be used. And probably, although I know I talked to you about the novation as bit of this as an exception, there's actually another one that is absolutely huge. So with the parole evidence rule, what it does is the judge will not allow you to even tell the judge about anything that was spoken. And what they do instead is they look at the written document and interpret the obligations. Okay. So you need to understand what I'm about to tell you, are not the parole evidence rule. They are exceptions to it. They are circumstances in which the court will let you testify about what was stated. So let's imagine that there's a written document, okay? That it's all written out, it has all the obligations, people signed it if they happen to have signed it, and it's all done real nice and everything's there. So we've got this written document, and someone says, no, we agreed to something else. That's when the parole evidence rule is going to kick in, right? There's something else here, that's not all of it, it's part of it, there's other spoken things. So this is the contract. Any verbal discussions that, for example, add a clause or do something else are normally not allowed. That's what the parole evidence rule does. Why do we need one for novation? Why do we need an exception? Because if there is another contract that is spoken, where we've actually agreed to a new contract and it replaces this, then this isn't the deal anymore. And we can't have a situation in which the contract that the court's looking at isn't the agreement, because this thing, which was a verbal contract, replaced it. So a novation is a new contract that replaces an old one. Well, you can have a new verbal that replaces an old written. And the normal rules are that ended by novation. So if that's over, we shouldn't be looking at it anymore. It got discharged. It got ended by novation. And that's why we need the parole evidence rule to be an exception. Because it would lead to a situation in which a new contract does not replace this if it's written. And that's wrong. Right? It's not how it works. The second reason is to prove a flaw. And this will almost always be a misrepresentation. So when we're dealing with the flaws, I don't have them up here anymore. Let's go back over here. So we've got this written deal, right? Show me. Show me where the misrepresentation would have to be. A false statement that was material and it caused someone to enter a contract. Where is it? It has to be out here. Could it be spoken? Could it be something somebody said?
Yeah.
Absolutely it could. What if the court wouldn't let you talk about what was said when it would prove this? It would basically remove the flaw of misrepresentation from written contracts. It could never have a flaw. Because it can never be in here. There's no way you could see it by looking at this. Misrepresentations, by definition, are outside of the agreement. So if we've got a spoken thing that's a misrepresentation, and you're going to tell the judge, he said, the judge says you're not allowed to talk about what's said. How do you prove that there was a misrepresentation when it was spoken? You can't. So because that was not how the law works, doesn't fit into the whole of the law, we have to have an exception. Even though it's written, you can talk about a flaw if what you're proving is a misrepresentation. And this is actually how it works, okay? So what will happen is there'll be a written contract, there'll be a dispute about it, it'll go to court, the judge will say, was the contract written? And then you'd say, yes it was. And they said, show it to me. Get the thing in front of him. And then you'll say, but wait a minute, he said. Judge will say, parole evidence rule. You cannot talk about what was said. And then you say, no, what he said was a misrepresentation. Just say, so you're saying that there was an oral misrepresentation that I have to take into consideration to prove that there was a flaw? Yes. Okay, tell me about that. And he will let you prove that. And if you prove it, that it was first of all said and that it was a misrepresentation, that will be used and puts the flaw back where it's supposed to be, and then therefore you have the right to end it. And if you're in court, you probably wanted to, right? They'll do the same thing with it. So you'll say, okay, what happened? It was a written contract yesterday. Show it to me. Wait a minute. We said you can't talk about what was said. And you'll go, no, we made a separate verbal contract with all the elements of a contract that is verbal, and it replaced that. Judge will say, so there's a novation that's verbal. Yes. Okay, prove it to me. And if you prove it, the judge will say, well, I shouldn't be looking at this. I will then be considering the novation. That's how the exception works. It is to actually get us back to what are the normal rules. That the parole evidence rule will, if there were no exceptions, we could end up in circumstances in which parts of the law wouldn't apply to written contracts that should apply. Do you understand those? Those are the easy ones. Actually, the next one's not that hard, but it's kind of a little bit not clear. The whole purpose of the parole evidence rule is so that people don't lie about what was said in order to change the contract. Okay, that's the point of it. So they can't, because the parole evidence rule won't let them. But another exception is where there's either a practice in the industry or a history between these people that is so established, we know it was there. In other words, there's not really going to be any dispute about this. So let's say that you've got a company and they keep buying steel and the only thing that changes is the price. But the terms are always the same. They're always that they will deliver it on Monday at 9 o'clock and unload it, right? This has always been the way. And they've been doing it for 20 years. And they make a contract in writing that says steel, 1,000 pounds, $5 a pound. And it's always the same type of steel. It's always delivered. And then they say, And the rest of the usual terms? Yeah. Okay? But then there becomes a fight about it, and they say, look at the contract. And this doesn't contain the rest of the normal terms because we have verbally agreed to them, but there isn't a real dispute about them because they're the way it's always been done. The court will let you prove that you agreed to the normal, usual terms as an exception to the parole evidence rule to give certainty to what should happen. And the last one. I'm in trouble remembering it.
Condition precedent.
Yes. Sometimes people will verbally agree that something has to happen before this becomes a contract. But we need the written contract for something, or maybe we don't, but we made one, okay? But we both knew it only becomes binding if something happens. Here's an example of this, okay? Let's say that I go to buy a car, and I'm all set to buy the car, but I gotta go borrow the money from the bank. And the bank says, bring the contract in because we want to see it. So I sign this contract, and it's all written up, but we both agreed it was subject to my approval with the bank. That was verbally agreed to, but it's not in there because it doesn't. We agreed to it, and before this becomes binding, the bank has to say yes. So now we got this written contract that says, hey, you know what? I'm going to buy this car. But it doesn't say anything about the financing because we verbally agreed to that. I take it to the bank looks at the document, and they say, we're not giving you financing for this. This is not worth it, or it's too dangerous, or you're a bum, right? We don't have any money. We're not giving you any financing. So they come back and said, sorry, can't buy the car. And then they sue on this contract for this car. And I say, that never became a contract because there was a condition that had to be met. It was verbal. We spoke it. The judge will let you prove that too. Basically saying that thing isn't actually a contract even though it looks just like one because it was conditional. The offer was conditional and the conditional didn't get met. Those are your 4 exceptions to the parole evidence rule. Thank you for telling me about that. I would have forgotten. Of this one? All right, you got to remember we're dealing with a written contract here, okay? So it's hard for me to express this as a written contract, but I'm going to try. Okay? Do you have a pet? If you had a pet, what would you have? All right. Fish. Fish are not a pet. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Fish, okay. All right, so let's say you come to see me and you say, Murray, I will pay you. I come and see you and I say, hey, you need me to take care of your fish while you're writing exams because you're going to be so busy that they're going to die. And you say, yeah, I do. But wait a minute, have you ever taken care of fish before? Oh, yeah, lots of times I've taken care of fish, lots of times. So, okay, let's drop an agreement. What's the terms of the contract going to be? How much? What? How much you going to pay me?
30.
30 for what? An hour?
For the entire time.
Freaking way. Okay. So you say, I'll pay you $30 to come over 3 times to feed my fish 1 week apart. Got that? Turns out I've never taken care of fish before. And you find this out. And you say, I'm going to take care of my fish. How do you make this make sense? My fish are so important to me that I will not trust them to Anyways, you picked it, right? So where is the fact that I've taken care of fish before? It's outside the contract. You say I'm not doing it. You're using the misrepresentation. I go to court and I sue. Judge looks at the contract and says you're supposed to pay 30 and you didn't. You're going to say, no, but Murray said. Judge is going to go, you can't talk about what was said. You say, no, I want to prove he said something that was a misrepresentation. Oh, so there's a flaw in this contract that I can't see because it's outside the contract. You go, yeah, that's what I want to show you. Okay, I'll let you talk about what was said. You'll say Murray said that he'd taken care of fish before, and he hadn't. Is that false?
Yes.
Is it material? Do people normally care?
Yes.
Yes.
Whether people have experience in what they're doing? Yeah, and would it cause you to enter the contract? Yeah, you prove it, and they say, and I'm walking away from that deal. That would be a flaw. Okay? It's the same thing with respect to an ovation, but with an ovation we'd have to have this, and then we'd have to have another contract that would say, wait a minute, would you feed my dog too? Because dogs matter. And I say dogs would be $40 more, right?
Okay.
And then so we make a new contract that's verbal, and then I say, what about the $30 for the fish? He says, no, I give you the $40 for the dog. No, where's the $30 for the fish? Go to court, and they're going to say, well, it's a written contract. Why don't you give $30 to fish? And they're going to go, because we have a new verbal agreement. Okay, that's how it works.
Okay.
Got it? Those are good questions. I like them. Anything else? All right. The order goods delivered. Oh, you have to wait. Well, unless you have a question about that.
Just a general question.
No, you have to wait for that. But I won't forget you. Ready? Order goods delivered. You got to look at the contract. You got to see whether or not what the person underage is getting. Got it? And then the question is, was it actually given to them? Not were they thinking of it, not were they planning, not were they on their way. Was it placed into their control? That's what delivered means. So, even though this is ordered, it doesn't mean that the kid has ordered something and it was delivered. Okay? What it means is they were given what they were supposed to be given under the contract to the point where they have it within their control now. You look still like you're confused.
Yeah. Could you give us some examples?
Mm-hmm. Like what? What's the kid buying?
So the key is what's the goods they will buy, right?
So if a child is buying food, was it handed to them? So let's pretend this is food. Not pretend to the point where you put it in your mouth, okay? All right? So what is this? It's fish. Because that's what you do with fish. You eat them, okay? So you ordered fish and you're a minor. And let's say you're at that point in the flow chart. Are the order goods, are they delivered now? Right now?
No.
Are they?
No.
You answer. Are they? You're the child. I'm the adult. This is your fish that you bought. Has it been delivered right now? Who has the fish?
Yeah, you.
Do you have it?
No, I don't.
Then it's not delivered. What about now? Do you have it now?
No.
You can tell, okay? What about now?
No.
What about now? What about now?
Yeah.
No? You thought you did. What about now? Have I delivered them? Have I delivered the fish to you? No, I don't have it anymore. It's yours. That's what delivered means. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Oh, lots of fun. That's what you do with fish. All right. Ben, no, next.
I don't have any good notes for past consideration.
Oh, God. Okay, that's a huge area, folks. We're going to deal with it in the case study. I'm going to give you a quick answer.
Oh, we'll deal with the case study. I can wait till then.
No,
Okay.
because you may not understand it, even though it's in the case study, unless I give you something. I can't go over this whole thing again because it took me about an hour and a half. Remember that? The basic idea behind past consideration is you cannot give something to someone if they already have it.
Okay.
So if I said, I'm going to sell you that water bottle for $5, and you said, sure, we don't have a contract because a contract requires consideration. It's built into the test. Are you giving me something that I do not already have or have the right to in that deal? And the answer is yes, you're giving me.
Water bottle. You're giving me $5, right?
Shit, that wasn't a very good example. What if I'm going to sell you that water bottle for $5?
I think that's what you said. Okay, so I already have the water bottle.
Okay, what are you giving me?
$5.
$5. Did I already have $5 from you? That's good consideration, but the quest for consideration is that both sides give something. What am I giving you?
It's water bottle.
But you already have the water bottle. I cannot give it to you and call that consideration. That's the basics of past consideration. It's something somebody already has. I'm just going to give you one more quick example because I know this is a confusing area and I don't mind spending a bit of time on it. If you offer to give me a haircut, and I said, that'd be really nice, Ben, give me a haircut. And then Ben gives me a haircut. I said, this haircut's great. I'll give you $20. And you say, okay, I'd like $20. There's things I can do. And then I don't give you the $20. Can you sue me?
No.
Why? What am I promising to give?
$20.
Did you already have the right to $20?
No.
And remember, I made an offer and you accepted it, but that's not the way we determine if there's a contract. We don't just look at one element. So, what are you giving me?
A haircut.
But I already have the haircut. You can't give it to me. It's already there.
So really that situation is just two gifts?
No. If I give you the $20, there wasn't a contract. But I might give it to you anyways. But there isn't a contract, right? But if I don't give you the $20 and then you come and sue me for the $20 that I promised you, it's not a gift because I never gave it to you.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You want it because I promised it to you, but I'm not giving it to you because I get mad at you afterwards and I say, I'm not giving you the $20. Right? And you say, well, I'm going to sue you. Right? And then next thing you know, we have a lawsuit. Of course, you're not going to really do that over a $20 haircut, especially a shitty haircut like you gave me, Ben. Looks like awful, okay?
I'm not taking any responsibility for that, Maria.
The fact that I still have some is good enough for me right now. Okay, so that's the problem, okay? So the problem is you cannot give something if they already have it, and that's why the proper test for consideration is, did both sides give something that they did not already have or have the right to? And we're going to show you that when we deal with the case study today. Anything else? All right. Let's do one quick one. Or maybe we should just take a break. Should we take a break? Yeah, let's take a break. Does anybody need any of this before I erase it? You have to know what the test is and that it's been met. When a test is met, and there's a law behind it, it's going to be part of what you have to deal with. So, one of the things about exams that students often, I still struggle with this. I keep telling people over and over again, but telling isn't teaching. It's hard for people to understand because you're so trained. So, when you ask the question on the exam, how do you get full marks? By doing what? What?
Explaining.
So, does the right... That explaining what? Yeah, you have to stay focused on that. It's not getting the answer right. That's high school, right? You get right marks by getting the answer. And on my test, it's not about getting the answer right. It's about showing you understand the concept that is raised by the question. And those are different. So if I was to give you a question, and this is how they tend to work, is there's no explanation at all about what this is about, and you got to get it. So the question I was asked during the break is, and I may be rephrasing this to a certain extent, is where do those four things that have the A, B, and C go? And the answer is nowhere or exactly where they need to go. It depends, right? And you can't look at it like that. And the example that I gave is if I say, will you buy this chalk from me for $1, right? So, do we deal with subcontracting? Has it been triggered by that fact situation?
No.
No. Do we deal with novation?
No.
Assignment?
No.
Have I assigned the rights to someone else? There's no. Do we deal with agency? Is there any agency? So where does it go? Nowhere. Because it does nothing to do with these facts. But if I said, hey, would you go sell this for me for $1? And then she makes a contract. If those are the facts, you got to understand that that has triggered what? Agency. And that the contract is going to be between me and the person that she makes the deal with, because that's how agency works. So you have to understand the concepts, all of them, always, completely. And then know that this has got to be used. Or that it's the law that the facts are about. How many of you are going to go on to take Law 2? You're going to run into the same issue in Law 2, only it's like about 5 times worse. Because there's one final exam. And there's like 400 little points. And then I just throw a fact situation at you, says, do you know which of the 400 this is? And yet, if you don't even know the rule, which I've seen from people who take bad notes, they listen and they I'll remember that, and they don't write anything down, and then they go to learn it. What I taught them isn't there, and then it gets on the test and they can't even see it because they don't even know it's there. I'm starting to realize how important it is to take good notes. Starting to realize how important that is for students to take good notes. Okay, so we have a scaled down version in contracts. It isn't as deep as that. It's a little more linear, but you still got to know we have to use this in that set of facts. And that will be the answer, and it should fit perfectly if you understand your material. Okay? So let's go through. Let's talk about fact situations. So the first one I want to deal with is a fairly simple case. It's the one about the book that the woman bought. Remember that? How do you approach this case study? In other words, if you're a student sitting there reading through the thing, and you've read through it, how do you get started? What?
Defining sentence.
Okay. So There are situations where I might throw out contracts that are obviously there where there isn't acceptance. It isn't disclosed in the facts, but you know the acceptance is there. But in most situations, the proper approach is to find acceptance. Where's the first acceptance in that fact situation? Give me the words.
Do you have a vote for sale? The answer is yes. Because I'll take it.
Is that acceptance?
No.
Accept the right answer. Let's try the right answer.
Yes.
Is it acceptance?
He's accepting.
She is. Is that acceptance? What's the test for acceptance, folks? What's the test? Everything has a test in contract. If you don't know what the test is, it's a what?
A yes or no?
Yeah, it's a clear indication of yes. Is I will take it a clear indication of yes?
Yes.
Then that's acceptance. And then what I tell you to do is what? What do we do now?
Go back and find
You go
out.
back and find the offer. What happens when you go back and find the offer? Why not?
Because what's being offered isn't clear, and there's no rights until after the acceptance.
It's impossible to discern your basic obligations.
And that makes... Okay, where is this offer?
The offer, the original offer,
The
is
thing that we're looking at, that we're backing up and looking at.
backing up to the advertisement that he hung up.
So he hangs up an ad, right? And asks if there's a book for sale. In other words, are you the guy in the ad? He says, yes, so that's the ad. What is that ad in law?
Invitation to treat.
It is. It's an invitation to treat. So when we back up and say, is what was offered the same as what was accepted, you're going to come to the conclusion there is no offer, and therefore we've got to move on. You will find that there's a little bit of chatter back and forth, right? And this is why I don't want you to look for offers, because offers die. They have no meaning at all until we have acceptance. So where's the next acceptance?
When he nodded.
He nods?
Yes.
They're not on the phone?
No, that's not doing that.
Oh, okay.
No, they met.
So they met and he nods.
Yes.
What's he nodding to?
I'll give you $7.
$7.
So what's the offer? That you're going to give me $7? Or he's going to give her $7?
Well, now that you have acceptance, you go back and you see if they're still discussing the book.
I need you to do this slightly differently.
Okay?
You're absolutely right to say what he said was, I will give you $7. Is that true?
That's what
She
he
said it.
Yes.
She said?
Yeah.
Okay, she says, I will give you $7, and he nods. Is the contract that she is going to hand him $7 and he's going to put it in his pocket? Is that the contract?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Why not?
She doesn't have money with her.
There's a better reason why not. That's true, but
Because they both have obligations to meet.
isn't that what's stated?
But he has to give her the book.
Where's the book?
At the start of this conversation,
But isn't she nodding to that statement?
So because she didn't say, I will give you $7 for the book.
Finish. That is not a sentence. I'm waiting for the rest.
There is no performance.
We don't deal with performance yet. Performance doesn't happen till after. We don't care about performance. We need a focus point to get started on.
only offer is the $7 at this point, is what you're saying? And that's what he's agreeing to?
Is it for the book or not?
Yes.
But that's not stated, is it?
No.
But it's-
So does that mean that this isn't an offer? What? Would you say it's obvious that when he says this, he means it's for the book?
Yeah.
So, offers include what is stated plus what's obviously meant. Always. And if we look at this very fussy, folks, very fussily, what she actually stated was, I will give you $7. That's the statement that he's nodding to, right? But everybody looking down on the situation says, obviously, is she saying, I'm just going to hand you $7?
Well, no.
No. She means what?
I'll give you $7 on the
For
book.
the book.
So, are there any other clauses that will be in the obligations that we can say right now?
She'll pick it up next week.
No. What?
She'll pay for it,
How do you know that?
because in the original offer, she said, I'll give you $5 for it, but I'll have to pay for it next month.
Because why?
She forgot the money.
Does he know that?
Yes.
Yeah, she got it.
So, when she's offering $7, we know it's for the book, and it's obviously obvious she will not be paying for it then, because this is part of the previous facts.